What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Keep Grwng, the spot where resilience meets style. We're here to help young men like you walk through life with confidence, intention, and a plan for success. From life tips to fresh kicks, we've got the tools and inspiration to help you not just survive, but thrive. From where you are to where you're going, let's keep growing.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday. We are back. We are better. We are living, and just blessed to be here sitting next to my boy, Julian Robertson. We had an amazing hot seat segment before this, guys, and I hope you guys can continue to keep and stay updated with, the content that we're making. I feel like this is the most content that we've been able to produce, as a BHD brand in the last 4 years. So I'm very humbled by having two guys that just enjoy showing up and being able to be present and talk about some real timely things for these young men out here that are learning, striving to be better dudes, and in this case, be the most ideal man in 2025. And that's what we're going to talk about today, Julian. So to get things kicked off, I want to ask you a question, man. What does a man look like to you with our day and age in 2025?
Oh, what is a man supposed to look like in 2025?
In your opinion,
how is a man looking now in 2025?
What does a man look like to you now in 2025?
For sure. Well, I'll definitely say, I think in the climate that we're in now, where there's so many different distractions. I mean, since humanity, there's always been distractions,
right?
But now there's social media. There's a lot of things that can fill one with distractions in regards to just being probably overly stimulated.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, a man is one who is able to deviate from that to an extent and really just be on purpose and not really a heed to maybe all the distractions that are going on, and be like, hey, look, I see that these things are out here, but I have a purpose. I have something I need to focus on. Let me really lock in and focus on that, because there are so many different, through evolution, just through the way the world is going, there's just so many different things one can fixate their mind on or have their focus towards. So I think now alleviating those things and really just being on purpose, I think that's one of a huge attribute of being a man in 2025.
Yeah, bro. I think it all comes back to purpose and obviously the life that you're living. Today, we're going to specifically focus on the exterior part of what a man looks like. And what I mean by that is the everyday living that these men look like. So the reason and how I was able to come about this topic was I was having a conversation with a woman who I've known for a decade now.
Sure.
We don't talk very much, but we've had really good conversations when it comes to tough, challenging topics of our day and age, of modern society, of dating, of beliefs on the men's side, beliefs on the women's side. Mm-hmm. And she posed a great point, and the point was made that a lot of men in 2025 in today's age are very feminine. And I know we just got done with the episode of talking about the masculine and the feminine and, polarity in itself. But today I want to really focus on the concrete items of it. And, right now what I'm seeing a lot on social media is everyone's talking about the dating show Love Island. Okay. So, everyone's in that realm of watching it, which is, we're not going to talk about the show itself, but the men that are on that show and, what they look like. And I think there is a specific type of man that women like. Mm-hmm. And I think the issue, and I talked about this to the woman that I'm mentioning, brought this conversation up that we're having right now, but I find it very challenging because you look at the guys that are on the show, they all carry very similar traits when it comes to the looks wise. They all look very clean, they got veneers, or they got the pretty white teeth, they got abs, they got the muscles, but they all have a very feminine looking face. They look like pretty boys. And that was kind of the comment that was made by the woman that I'm discussing with. And I told her on the guy side, it's very challenging because I would say women want a masculine man nowadays. They want a blue collar worker. They want X, they want Y, they want Z. But a lot of these guys don't carry those traits from the outside looking in. They take care of their faces. They have very, feminine looking faces. They have very soft attributes about them. So at what point does a man really look like a man in 2025? Now that we have social media, a lot of these guys are content creators. They're doing the dances, they're doing the trendy stuff. So in your opinion, How does that sit with you? And is there a line that you have to walk, especially nowadays with having social media and what you're presenting yourself to look like, to be in your masculine? Let's say that. We won't even talk about being a man. We'll talk about being in your masculine.
For sure. Well, I think, what's within somebody is going to come out regardless. Yeah. So if you are who you are, there's nothing that can deviate from it. Now, if we're speaking on social media, I don't think when people say, oh, social media makes people weird, I don't believe that. I think people are, if they are operating in a certain way, they're inherently like that, and they're just, social media gives a platform for them to show their true colors.
Yeah, that's
because
good, man.
If you operate a certain way, regardless to social media, if social media were to go away, if you are who you are, it's gonna come out. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be seen regardless of the fact. But now there are platforms to where people can show maybe what they keep inside, what they might have dormant, or what they might just want to express, or what could be possibly a platform to change who they actually are. They might shift themselves for the platform, or for the attention, or for the likes, or for the comments. So I think it's a combination of things. But honestly, man, I know we're in the space of social media, but I mean, I think anybody who knows me knows I'm not really a social media person, man. I'm really not. Like, I love living life in a natural essence. And again, I only have an Instagram, but I'll log off and delete the app, and I don't really get on there, So I hear about these things, like, when people talk about Love Island, or where people talk about trends, I hear it from friends, or I hear it from women, I hear it from certain avenues, but I don't ever see these things. I don't want to say ever, because sometimes you just see certain things, but I don't see it as regular as a lot of people do, because I don't focus on a lot of these things. So I think it's really just what one wants to put themselves into. Mm-hmm. And we are in a world of social media. Yeah. So one can fixate themselves in just being in that space, but it's like an itch. It never goes away. There's a new trend every day.
It's trying to stay up to date, having the FOMO and whatnot. And then you can. I mean, you can do your best to, like we talk about, but I do know you personally, and I think for the people that have been listening and watching for the week in and week out, they understand that you don't carry your social media like that. Yeah. But I know you do. You do make music on that side, and we've had this conversation of like, even a simple, and we'll take the judgment of women out of the picture. We'll just say from a strictly like social presence from anyone's eye looking in. You look at your social page, we've had a conversation, you have women on there. Yeah. Different women.
For sure.
But the level of art that is shown, that the intention behind it is art, is not seen to the public eye as art. It's seen as dude's good looking and homie could be a player. He's got women in his
for sure.
And that's the sad part about society nowadays, because we're always looking at things from a lens of how can I judge this, rather than oh wow, that's a sick photo shoot. I wonder what was the reasoning or the influence behind it, and asking the question. But to kind of like backtrack into like what a real man looks like, I do think it's tough, bro. I do find it very challenging, because for myself, my day to day, I do work in social media, so it's like I see the line on the other side of these dudes that are doing these trendy TikTok dances, that are doing these like lip sync things, and I'm like, it's getting real hits, it's getting real numbers, like that's what people want to see. And then I see the other side of it, to where it's dudes like us that are talking about real life stuff, and they're just, trying to, live a life through purpose and intentionality, who are trying to make an impact in other guys' lives. Yeah. And it's like, where's the middle line to be considered? Because I don't think, and we've talked about it, I don't think social media is a masculine thing. I don't think having social media is living in your masculine. I think it is necessary for the day to day that we live in, but I can't justify, from what knowing about the book that you shared with me, social media and the things that I do to be considered masculine, which is why I got to make sure on the outside of it, I'm doing things that are touching on it. You out? All right, bro. We'll catch you. Yeah.
Love, bro.
Love. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. But yeah, do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts?
I think it's how one utilizes social media again, because you can utilize that platform to show and exuberate the characteristics of, just, how you're operating within your manhood, or people can conform to the trends and whatever is going on, and it could take away from really who they are. They could more so just be operating in a space just for the sake of operating in
Yeah.
it. So it really just depends on who that person is and who they are inside. Because again, I genuinely believe whatever is in somebody is gonna come out
For sure.
regardless. And if it takes certain platforms to usurp that out of certain people, that's all it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of solid men who are on social media who just aren't doing certain things.
Yeah,
They're not doing trends. They're not doing dances and taking their shirts off and doing certain things. They're just not, and it's no knock, but they're just not doing certain things because that's not who they are internally.
For sure.
So it's whatever who you are internally is going to be who you are regardless of the fact. I don't blame social media. It's just a platform.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever one wants to do because of the byproducts of whatever they show. That's an internal thing. So that's just how I look at it. It's never social media. It's the person.
No, for sure. And I like the point that you're making about it's whatever's inside you that's going to show truly on your, on your pages or whatever it is that you're doing on social media. And I completely believe that because I've had debates with people, and it's not just women, it's men as well, that maybe just don't have social media at all. Of like, bro, all of it is just kind of sassy. Like it just comes, and I get it. Like I understand it, but for what I use my purposes for on it, it's not sassy. Like
for sure.
All of it that I do is considered to be, things that I'm doing in my day to day anyways. It's just putting a camera in front of it sometimes. But yeah, bro, I do find it tough sometimes whenever you have people trying to justify like, oh, well, as a man, you shouldn't be doing this. As a man, you shouldn't be doing that. But I mean, unfortunately, to survive nowadays, to be not considered weird, you got to have some type of social media, regardless if you don't. Yeah, unfortunately, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've ever met a woman or a man and they're just like, no social media.
Yeah.
I would almost wonder, like, why don't you have it?
Unfortunately, and that was the norm.
Yeah.
I mean, before social media, we could say like 15, 20 years before,
for sure.
everybody was operating in the normalcy of life with no social media.
Phone book.
Yeah. So now if somebody doesn't have that, they're looked at like there's something going on. That's a crazy like dichotomy shift from a world perspective. Because what does that show? Social media has altered the way people perceive other people.
Yes.
In regards to how they're maneuvering just because they might not have social media. It's looked at like you're hiding something or what do you not want to share? And it's I'll just say this, man, I think social media is a good platform to show talents and businesses and things like that. But at the same time, like it's day-to-day distracting people from a day-to-day standpoint, because if one is constantly looking at that, it's affecting their psychosis. It's affecting their subconscious. They're watching what other people doing. They're seeing trends. They're seeing other people maybe get other things and monetization from it. And now they're wondering like, why can't I get this? Or why am I not able to obtain this? And now it's creating anxiety. And it's a lot that goes within that. And if one were to just relieve themselves from that, you're not missing anything.
No, for sure.
You're really not missing anything. You know what I mean?
The anxiety level that you would have less anxiety in your life would go down tremendously.
It would. And I genuinely think the only thing people are really, really missing out on is really understanding who they are internally from constantly looking at all these other things. It's distracting people from really figuring out who they are. And I think that's one of the most, because again, like we said on the hot take, the previous take.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever can be used for good can be used for bad.
Yes.
Now, do I believe the creators of social media did it with a reason to like make people operate a certain way? No, I don't believe it was meant for bad intent. But it can also be used for that. Or now once people see like, oh, people are gravitating to that, now let me create certain things within us to get people hooked on it. Whether it's the sounds, whether it's the colors. I just watched a Netflix thing a while ago on the actual like psychology behind social media and how people become addicted to it. So again, was the creation for that? No, but once people start figuring out like, oh, these people are on this all the time, now let's start like getting them hooked on it. So there's a nuance to it, man. But again, I genuinely believe whatever's in somebody is gonna come out regardless.
I don't know if you've seen that Black Mirror episode.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite shows. Yeah,
bro, I've been watching it. I've been streaming it again, and just the overall like the intention of using certain things for the negative side of the world, or in this case, a negative societal impact. I think it's just crazy because I don't believe that people are that malicious out here. I definitely think that people have a right to create something for the good of things. I think it's just a matter of time to when that other side is expressed out, so that way it brings some type of chaos. Chaos is fun, you know. And then you got people that are, you know, struggling with being addicted to social media and living their lifestyle in a very inorganic way. So that's why it kind of brought me to this topic, dude. Because like I said, I've challenged myself to be very intentional with what I've been sharing the last year now. I'm sure it's the same with you. Like when you post your music, it's very much just like everything that you're thinking about, you're creating from the video, from the you know, lyrics itself, from the images that you're posting. I'm sure you're thinking in the back of your head of like, I want to make sure this follows the principles that I live by.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think that takes real work to go ahead and think cognitive of that and then share something, whereas other people are just like, oh, it looks good, share.
For sure.
And not even know how it may, not saying you got to care what people think, but you have to understand how it's being perceived, because you want to make sure that you're doing the best of your ability to live your true self. It's very hard to do that on social media.
Yeah. But again, boy, from what you literally just said, that stems from who you are as a person.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're a person that operates from morals, principles, you know, a person of self, naturally you're just going to disseminate that. You're going to share that because that's genuinely who you are. If there's really no substance to oneself, then it's just going to be like vague things. It's not going to matter. It's just going to be like, yeah, this looks good. This is surface level. I'm going to put it out there. Their perception is not going to matter. So it's really all internal. And that's why I say it has nothing to do with the social platforms. It's not the platforms at all. It's internally who the people are. These are just platforms to just show and host whatever they want to put out. That's all it is to me. That's it.
Real quick question before we get into the next topic. Would you know, as a bachelor yourself, would you ever go on a dating show?
Nah. Nah. And I would say this, for one, that's just not my style. But secondarily, from a real analytical standpoint, I think there's probably a lot of things that the people that are on the show might see on the back end to where they're like, no, that's not how it went down. Or this is not like, now they put me in a certain space to where it looks like this on the show, but that's not who I am, or that's not how it went down. And I don't want to ever be in a situation to where is like literally who I am, I'm not in control of how I'm able to like show that from a genuine place, or where it can be altered to where is now people have an assessment for who I am, and that's genuinely not who I am. And I've heard people say that about not about shows in particular, but just who've been on certain shows. They'll talk about like, you know, they get interviewed and they're like, well, you know, there are a lot of things that were altered, and that's not who I was. And, you know, that's not how that situation went down, but they fixed it. They made certain changes, and then they put it together to make it look like that. I would never want to be a part of that. And if you're just on the show, you're a talent. You're not somebody you're not the editor. You're not the person who's controlling that. And I think very, very like intuitively. And it's like, I would never want to be in a situation to where it's like, nah, that's not me. I don't stand for that. That's not how that went down. But then I'm not in control of how I'm projected. I would never want that.
That's funny you mentioned that. There's a person that goes to my gym who was on a dating show, and sometimes I'll walk past them and I'm just like, because I've seen a few of these shows like a couple of years ago. I used to, you know, watch them with my partner at the time, and seeing that person now after watching that season of them on it, I'm looking at them like, the perception I have of you, I'm sure is not who you are as a person. Yeah. And the control freak in me would never want to be in a situation to where already we get stereotyped for how we look. I couldn't imagine being on a show for, let's say, like 9 weeks, right? And they're shooting constantly for them to be able to sit behind a room and just say, let's put this together and that together, and we'll build this based off of his two actions that he made that were not malicious, but we're going to make it look malicious. Because that's reality TV. Yeah. How could it not be? And I also look at it from an ROI perspective of like, these people are getting paid like pennies on end, bro, like $12, $15 an hour, maybe 20, to sit on an island with people that you barely know, with wine, with
what do you expect to happen?
Food.
Like,
you're gonna make some crazy decisions,
what do you
bro.
expect to
Like
happen?
9 weeks with just water, wine, eggs, and a little bit of fruit.
Yeah.
Come on now, no working out.
Yeah.
No real time to
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to. It's crazy because I was having a conversation with this girl. She was telling me about the Love Island show.
Yeah, bro. It's
and
everywhere.
she was talking about like a situation that happened with, I guess, a guy and like 2 women or something like that. And I was explaining to her like, yo, what do you expect to happen in these situations? At least from what she was explaining to me, because I don't know about the show. But to go in regards to what you were saying, like, again, these for the sake of it could all be good people, right? But you're put in these situations to where it's like you said, there could be liquor. There's food, whatever, but there's also the opposite gender. There's men and women, and you're in these enclosed environments, and there's attractiveness going on. Like, what do you really expect to happen? Like, even somebody with the great principle, like with great principles and character and morals, you're putting them in a situation to where it's like there's all these women around. For the women, there's all these guys around. Like,
You're barely sleeping.
yeah, like, what do you expect to happen? It's a recipe for a lot to happen. So I just wouldn't want to put myself in a situation to where it's like, I'd rather vlog myself before that, because I have control over
That's what I'm saying.
who I put like over basically, your intellectual property and your ROI. You have control over that, but stuff like that, that's just personally, that's not my vibe.
Nah,
I wouldn't do it.
no, definitly not. Nah, I just wanted to get
Yeah,
your thought process on it before we hopped into the next topic. But no, great answer, great advice for these guys out here. So topic number 2 that I want to stay on for a while. We talked a little bit about it on the hot seat segment of what leadership looks like and whatnot. Is there any chance that there could be a way for people that are leaders to put blame on certain situations to validate why they are the types of leaders they are? Like, is that excusable, or is it just it's not an excuse? You should have learned by now.
As far as like the reason why they operate a certain way, like,
Correct. Yeah.
okay. I think it could give perspective maybe on why they maneuver a certain way and their leadership style. But regardless of that style, whether it's good or bad, but let's say if it's not necessarily the best leadership style, whatever they have in the past that makes them operate in that way, that doesn't give it an excuse. So you can't blame it, especially if you know what it is. You can't blame that. If you know what something is that's making you operate a certain way and you adhere to blaming that, it doesn't add validity to it because you know what it is.
Yeah.
You can't do
That's
that.
facts.
So, I mean, if somebody were to be like, I'm this type of leader because I went through this and this made me this certain way. Okay, now if it's for a good reasoning, then good, because it made you a good leader. But if it's not, if you're treating people wrong, or if you're just snapping or you're projecting and it's because this happened, it's like, that's not an excuse. You know what it is.
Yeah. That's good. I like that a lot. Because it allows you to get to this point where I'm about to read it. I came across something that was talking about the masculine, and it says the masculine isn't about controlling a room; it's about controlling your response. And I thought that was powerful because a man only has his word.
Yeah,
that is the only thing that he can look back on to really say, like, okay, what did I say in this given moment? And in fact, it is the easiest thing to make an impact in someone's life by how strong your tongue is. And in that case, I think there's a time and place for everything to be able to explain yourself and where you're coming from. Now, when it comes into your downfalls and the things that you flaw in, I don't think that's something you address to control a room.
Yeah,
I think that's very intimate. I think those are moments when you're in a full room. Let's say if you're a leader and you're a full room with the people that are working for you, to just take ownership of that and be like, look, guys, I'm this way. And I'm sorry, because it's affected, like those flaws are affecting the whole room, regardless if you think so or not. But to offer that, I would say, reassurance of I'm not perfect as a leader, but I understand I do have flaws, regardless if they know or not. To admit the apology, I think just shows a lot of accountability on that end of like, all right, at least he knows that it's not all sunshines and rainbows, that there are definitely real things that are going on with certain things. But I can appreciate and respect that more than somebody to come in and just be like, y'all aren't getting it. Yeah. You know what relationship, friendship, whatever. Yeah. Like, this isn't me. I got here because of doing this. And I've heard time and time again from leaders of like, you think I got here by being nice, by being this way or that way? Like, I only got here because of the way I am. And unfortunately, there's a stagnant limit that you hit, and you're just like, I mean, you can't really do much after that.
Yeah, I've heard people say things like that too, and I definitely agree. There's a stagnation that's going to come with that, because you can get to a certain place, but then after a while, I mean, I don't foresee you really breaking through a certain barrier with that style. No, so I definitely agree for sure.
And it's wild because I think, again, the lack of accountability that us men take in certain situations. Growing up, we were always taught, like I said, hey man, like you just got to own up to certain things. What is it? Face the music. I think that's what that's the saying. And I think I would argue as kids that was a lot easier to do because the ego was very small at the time. Like our ego was still growing. And I think as we get older, it's very challenging to sit there and really think about how. I'm not gonna say that we don't want to take ownership. I want to say that we don't want to know that we failed. Okay. I would argue like us guys being competitive and being strong in our masculine, we don't want to lose. A guy that's really in his masculine don't want to lose. And sometimes that's the barrier of him saying, hey, I messed up. That's him losing or making himself feel failed in a certain aspect of his life.
For sure.
And I think that's a hard part to live with, bro, because how do you really teach a man to own up to his failures? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think just instilling accountability is just, it's one thing to do that, but it's one thing to embody that. And then honestly, like if a man is operating in a space of being the best version or trying to be the best version he can, you have to, like, honestly, it's from a self standpoint, because one could live their whole lives in denial and just not be accountable and constantly deflect and just be like, nah, and whatever, or project, or however they want to go about it. But it takes a certain level of internal growth to be like, nah, I'm gonna hold myself accountable. And if somebody sees something and they hold me accountable, that I know they have my best interest and they're invested in me, like, I have to be honest with them. I have to be like, nah, you know what, you're right, I did do that. Or I didn't do that correctly. Or like, it's from a self standpoint.
Yeah, definitely.
Because one could get mad or deflect and be like, oh, you're tripping or whatever it is. But it's like, no, if you're genuinely working internally, accountability is from an internal standpoint. It's an internal thing. So one could go their whole life and not hold accountability. It's an internal thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You don't have to be that way.
You don't. And I think the guidance first and foremost has to come with it at some point to be able to be told, like, look, be accountable with yourself first. Like, really, did you do the homework that you said you were going to do? Did you do, whatever it is, the 10 push-ups that you're supposed to do every night? Because I think regardless if it shows in its, human physical form, emotionally, that sticks with you, bro. Like we talked about earlier, like that just sticks with you a different way. And until you're ready to get out of that level of it, it's like, you sit there and it just grows into an uglier version of what it could eventually turn into in a positive aspect. Another question for you. Do you think it's harder to take accountability man to man or man to woman?
That's a good question. I'll say this. I think how it's delivered matters in
What do you
regards to if a man is approaching another man with something, it has to be done a certain way if you want accountability to be received. And the same from a woman, you know what I mean? But it's hard to say what comes different, because I look at it from, and it could just be me, I look at it from, if anybody feels disrespected in any sense, whether it's from man to man or woman to man, there's going to be a reaction. Now the reaction might be different in regards to if it's two men, because guys can handle things in a physical way, from like in the sense of fighting or in the sense of really taking it to whatever level they want to. If it's a woman and a man, as a man, you can't, there's only a certain space that you can go to. So I think it really just depends on, how it's being delivered. More so than what it's taken from, because you could feel, let's say, slighted, you could feel disrespected, you could feel taken aback from, it could be the same thing a man is telling you or a woman is telling you, but it's in regards to how is it being delivered to you. That's how I look at it. It's the delivery. Because somebody could tell you something and you see like, wow, you're genuinely concerned for me. Like you're coming to me with, this is like from your heart, or you could see if somebody's trying to like come at you, or do one of these to you.
Right.
So it's not, to me, it's not really a matter of who it is. It's a matter of how it's being delivered, to where it's like it's the response.
Dang, that's I like that point. That's a really that's a different take that I was expecting you to say, which I agree with. I will say that I think the delivery of things are everything. My dad would always tell me, like, your delivery and how you do something is going to be the most important thing, on top of, taking the accountability or whatever. But I think the tone, the tonality, the delivery, the genuineness that comes from it, it's like it comes, if it's a good heart, it's going to come out the good way, But if it's conflicted, and if it's coming from a place of just manipulation, from trying to make it seem a certain way to where it's not, delusion, it's going to feel that way.
Absolutely.
I'll give you a little bit of insight where I used to be at. I think, early to my middle 20s, I would definitely argue and say it's easier to take accountability with men than women. And I think a lot of that was just growing up playing sports around coaches that were men, and just always being around guys. Like, I knew how to be like, hey, I didn't do my role in that. Like, that's on me. My bad, coach. Like, whatever, my bad, boss. But I think around women, I had this insecurity of like, I didn't trust fully that they were going to be there once I take accountability for the things that I did.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know if people would agree or in this case, guys would agree or disagree, but to not excuse anything that a guy's doing, but like, I do feel a sense of comfortability and knowing if I, got a guy was to mess up with you and just be like, yo, Julian, I just got to let you know, bro, but this is what happened. Right. I don't know why I would trust that you would still be here.
I see what you mean
know what
from
I'm
that
saying?
perspective.
Like,
okay.
You know what, bro?
I see what you mean.
I love you. Like, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Like, you got to know to it, but I'm going to ride with you.
For sure.
But with women, I was always insecure that, like, if I did that and, like, I really messed up and I took full accountability, I just always thought, like, oh, that's it.
It's over with.
It's over with.
It's over.
So,
okay, I see what you mean.
So,
I see what you mean from that perspective.
Yeah, that's how I used to. And, I mean, right now, presently, I can't really answer that because I'm not associated with any woman that I would feel
for sure
the full conviction to be able to answer that. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was still a little of like,
for sure,
like apprehension of like, I'm a little scared. Like, are you really here? For like, sure. Are you really here?
I get what you mean.
To accept me for everything. So.
I get what you mean. Yeah, nah, for sure. That's from like the. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean from that perspective. That's from like the perspective of the male having the thought process from what they're thinking. I was thinking more so from the like, if you're taking, if somebody's saying something to you, whether it's man or woman, being accountable. But I get what you're saying.
But it goes hand in hand for sure.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I definitely get what you're saying in that sense. Yeah, man, it just depends on, it's really, but what you're also alluding to is, it's what frame of mind you're in. You're in a different frame of mind now, and that's through growth, that's through maturity.
Yeah, for sure.
So now it's a different lens on it. So that's going to shift on how you look at it, but that's part of growing and maturing. So that's the blessing within it, that you can kind of still, even within maturity, there's a healthy apprehensions that we're supposed to have.
Oh, for sure.
Just in anything, not necessarily, not saying women, just saying in life. There's certain like, it's just being like having that like, all right, you're noticing, you're peeping, you're paying attention. That's necessary.
Yeah,
that's necessary in certain things. You're not just supposed to be like just running into certain things.
No.
You know what I mean? Not knowing. So that's a good thing, honestly. But with the maturity, that's where perspective comes in. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah, I think, and it starts. I think the greatest thing too is that it's so important, which we always talk about. Before you start looking outward into intimacy, you got to find a group of dudes that you can build a fellowship with, to be able to share real hard shit with. And I think there was another thing that I came across to where I think a percentage was crazy. It was like 76% of men don't share their deepest fears with their best friends that are guys, but will share that with women who they've only known for a year. We're talking about long-term best friends, bro. Like, that's wild. And I think women do have the nurturing, motherly type vibes to them as they should, which is why they are different from us men. But I find it very wild if you got a close homie like that, 6 years of brotherhood, to not share something that you're really going through, because like we've talked about, that woman wasn't there before. That boy was there the whole time.
Yeah, it'd be like, why? My question would be why?
Right.
Why is that a feeling? Or why is, from the number that you gave, that percentage, why is it that high? You should feel like you should be able to talk to your boy about anything, truthfully. So that's a large number.
It was a large
man.
number, bro.
Yeah,
It's
that's
definitely over 50.
Number.
It was, I think it was in the 70s. It may have touched 80, but yeah, when I read that, I was like, man, we're really doing a disservice right now.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand there's a level of nurture and vulnerability that like a woman operating in her natural essence disseminates naturally, which is attractive to a man.
Yeah,
like
sure.
That's an attraction that you want.
Mm-hmm.
But even within that, there's certain things, and of course, yes, if you're in a relationship and things like that, I understand. You know, there's a certain level of openness you're gonna have with your woman. But in regards to really expressing certain things, like your boy should know, like you should always be able to go to your boy, like always, like your boy. Just to be quite frank, he's the one he might be there from the time that you're 6 to you're 60, from the time that you're 8 to you're 80. Respectfully, we don't know. You don't know if it's gonna. You God willing, you would like for it to be like that with a woman. Do you know that for sure? You don't know that. But with your boy, as long as he's operating in real love and loyalty, it's forever. It's for life. So why would you not always go? Why would you not have that open line of communication with your brother? That's an interesting fact, man. That's what I would like to ask guys. Like, why do you feel like you can't talk to your boy about that?
Is that, I would argue, is that really your boy? Like we talk about all the time.
Nah,
like,
for real. What's the context of the brotherhood at that point? You all's friendship or you all's brotherhood? Like, is it for real? Is it solid? Have you had to wake up and go get him at 2 a.m? Has he called? Have you called him at 2 a.m?
It hasn't been that way.
It hasn't been real for real. Like, has he expressed certain things to you? Have you expressed certain things to him, or is it just when it's the weekend, it's Friday, you call it, you texting him like, hey, bro, where we at tonight?
That's true, man.
That's not. I mean, is that a friendship? It's a surface level version of it, but is that your brother?
Has he seen you at your weakest time?
For sure.
You know, like, have you been open enough to let him see you?
Absolutely.
Bro, I really need you right now. Like, can you spot me 20? Like, it don't always got to be money, but like, hey, bro, I have an Ian. Do you have anything?
Whatever it is.
Like, vulnerability. And I think that's the main point of like, I don't see how I was operating with women back when I was, you know, in my young 20s to mid 20s, because I didn't have any guy friends. Yeah. So I wasn't already doing that stuff of being vulnerable, being, you know, around my dudes, holding myself accountable, holding them accountable, to be in a relationship with a woman and think that I could be accountable for certain things, how I could be vulnerable for certain things. Like, it's not just going to one day happen for you because you love a woman. For sure. It's got to be built. And the only way to be built is to have a group of dudes, or just in this case, a guy friend that you can really count on. Bro.
Yeah.
So,
no, absolutely.
Before we close it out, bro, I want to ask you one last question like we always do. For guys that are out there building their presence in life, just like building a stronger presence, to be exact, what are some things they can continue to do or start doing so that way they're leading and living on that path? For sure. I would say one thing, read. Try to read. Honestly, I know for some reason a lot of people don't like reading. It's scary, bro. Yeah. But it's like, no, read. Like you'll be surprised how like your mind opens from reading. Read, work out. Just be very intentional how you maneuver. Pray. I mean, we all make mistakes. We're all on our path in a sense. You know, everybody's in different spaces, but for sure, pray. Ask God for guidance, and just be very intentional about on a day-to-day about what your aspirations are, or just if you're gonna hit the gym, if you're gonna fast. It could be small things. If you're just gonna eat fruit for the day, it doesn't have to be huge things, but just try to be intentional about your day-to-day. And you're just laying bricks. You're laying bricks day by day. So just be intentional. That's it. A real man can only be a real man as if he's able to set small things and accomplish them each and every day, man. To admit when he's failing and to be accountable in those times when he is failing, to be able to get up the next day and attack it a different way. So I love y'all. I hope you guys are having a great week, and remember to catch the hot seat segment before this. We'll catch y'all.